of Duval again, y'all. I'm your host, Zach. You can find me at Twitter, the app below. This is going to be the last episode of my continuation of the what went wrong for the Jaguars last year for the 2023 season. Move forward. Then after this, we're going to start going into what I think we should do to help this, so we can have a successful season next year. So obviously, go check out my two previous videos where I talked about what was wrong with the offense and then what was wrong with our management, which kind of set up everything. So, of course, this week talking about the defense, there will be a little crossover of that, but all the main points on the defense I say for this. So don't forget to like and subscribe, hit that notification bell. We should be ran into a few technical difficulties last week. That's why there's been kind of a week break, but hopefully we're back and those have been fixed, but we'll see how it goes. All right. So with that being said, we're going to get into it. All right. So the defense, early in the season, we thought we had a decent defense. We were getting turnovers. We were kind of holding it down with the offense found its way. Everybody was making tackles, doing their job, doing what they're supposed to do. And then halfway through the season, around, I want to say the 49ers game is where we saw a flash of it, and then it got really bad against the Bengals. But our the defense collapsed. There were many different reasons for that. The biggest one to me, I got three big ones. My biggest one for me is all the missed tackles. We started missing way too many tackles. I know a lot of us were hyped about Foley, Luakon being fourth in league in tackles, but he missed the most with 17. I personally am not a fan of that. If you're going to be up there, rather you not be that. You're going to miss a few tackles if you're within the top 5 in tackles, I feel, but there's a point where you need to just lock it down, just get the tackle. He was flying like a missile, which is good to see, but he's missing. The running backs are running by him, tight ends are running by him. It's almost like he's not there, but so that also played a full role. He wasn't the only one. Rashad Jenkins went for way too many hit tackles instead of just wrap and tackle. That's what they're always teach is wrap and tackle, but it does seem like lately a lot of players are trying to just do the shove tackle thing, which isn't working. Again, he wasn't the biggest culprit, but he wasn't the only culprit. But the main one I was seeing when watching games was 100% Rashad Jenkins, which may affect him going into next year just due to his contract situation. And then with Antonio Johnson there, and he may be no longer a Jaguar after this year. Devin Lloyd was missing tackles. Everyone misses a couple tackles here and there, but it got to the point it was getting people going up and down the field of us because they were getting first downs because no one can tackle. And then the ones who are the best at tackles, kind of were having trouble even as well. Like Cisco's usually a great tackler. He was struggling a little bit, but I'll go into him more in a minute. Tyson Campbell was missing time, and then he's missing tackles, which again, he's another one I'll go into in a minute. So that obviously set us up for having a bad year. Just second those tackles weren't getting there, and we're not getting the turnovers like we were early, it's going to affect all of us. I don't know. That, of course, seems like one of the biggest issues. Even against the Titans game, you saw Derrick Henry running up and down on us. There's no way that should happen. Which leads me to my second point. And that second point is issues among the D-line. Some of that was injuries, like Devon Hamilton's, which even when he came back, he was not right. I feel like we should have just shut him down because even near the end of the year, he was better than he was when he first came back, but still wasn't great. I personally feel like Blacksburn was playing better. If you really want to look at the stats, when Blacksburn was playing when Hamilton was out, our defense was better at stopping the run. That's just the facts back it up. I'm not saying Blacksburn's better. I'm just saying during this time when Hamilton's hurt and Blacksburn's being successful, maybe play back. I get it. We just signed Hamilton to that big deal, which again, we're signing, like going back to the management thing, we're signing people to big deals before they're ready. That's why they're like, oh, we should. Josh Allen's going to be there, like they're like during Trent Baalke's press conference. Josh Allen should have already had his deal signed. He should have had his deal signed before Devon Hamilton's, before Roy Robinson Harris, who's another issue on the D line. He showed up later in the season, but he's just not the run stopper, or really he's not the D lineman in general that we need at that point. He's probably the best of the pure D lineman people, but even then it wasn't great from a pass rushing and a rush standpoint. Foley Fatukasi, who was supposed to be our run stopping guy, has been bad both times. Both years he's probably gone. Especially with Ryan Nielsen as our new DC, who implements more of a 4-3 look. I feel like Foley doesn't fit with that look. I feel like Roy Robinson Harrison doesn't fit with that look. There's rumors about iffy on that, but I feel like we just need to revamp the D line. Unfortunately, with Devon Hamlin's big deal in place, we're probably not going to trade him or cut him. But if we hadn't paid him, I feel like he would have been gone too, and just redo the entire D line. If we're switching to 4-3, that means Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker are probably going to come up to defensive end positions. With Josh Allen, we saw what he can do, and so he should be fine. Trayvon Walker, I feel like will be better because his hand will be in the dirt all the time. He's a lot better with his hands in his dirt, but we'll see how that works. So really, the only guys that need to be kind of looked at would be the two defensive tackles in the middle. Like I said, though, I feel like Hamilton will be starting still. But then the other spot depends on what we're doing, if we keep him or not, or keep Roy Robinson or Foley. I feel like Foley has to go. Roy Robinson, so that was a big issue. The D line was getting blown off the ball all the time. So of course, let's push him into the linebackers, which pushes him into the missed tackles, which became a whole another issue. So they just kind of steamrolled. So again, some of that I don't blame on Mike Caldwell. I think like Mike Caldwell did mostly a decent job. If I was giving like a letter grade, I'd give him like a C plus. So it's like it's not great. C plus B minus range. But I also feel like he was kind of scapegoated a little bit because I feel like the bigger issue was Press Taylor. Like they were both coordinators were bad, but like I think there was a degree from up top that somebody had to go. Somebody had to pay for us not even making the playoffs, not even winning our division, choking down the stretch. So I feel like they went for Mike Caldwell said Press because, Press Taylor is Doug Pearson's guy and all that. We've been over that many times. I know everyone who's watching this knows about all that. That's why Doug Pearson was kicked out of lost his Philly job because he wouldn't let the Press Taylor thing go. He wanted Press Taylor to be his OC. No one thought he was ready. It looks like he's not ready, but again, this is a defensive episode, so we're going to go back to the defense. But yeah, the D-line and the missed tackles were the two biggest culprits, I feel like. But of course, on top of that, there was another issue that rose through the season that is not a organizational issue. It's something that no one could foresee coming because it's not something we can 100% tell, and that was injuries. We lost a bunch of guys during the season, and most of them all came back. I mean, Devin Lloyd missed a couple games. Devon Hamilton, DM, who I talked about earlier, missed a few games here and there, especially in the earlier season. Cisco went down, really hurt our pass defense because as much as I like Dewey, I do not like Dewey starting. I like him coming in. I like it coming in and being the third safety. I'm fine with when he starts. It's a little, and people know he's starting, not like within the game, but like, oh, okay, their safety's out. He ends up getting picked on a little bit. Like even looking at the Pittsburgh game, if he plays his role right and doesn't run into Buster Brown, George Pickens isn't scoring. So it makes that game a little more of a blowout than it was. There's a few games here and there. I mean, he does get a little more. He does get turnovers, so I'll put him better than Rashad Jenkins when it comes to that aspect. But there are just a few games here and there. It's like, yeah, do we like you as the third safety that comes in on like big safety downs, but as starter for multiple games is in. Another guy who went down was Tyson Campbell, and that really affected him all year. Even when he was back, he was not fully back. You could tell by watching his plays and coverage, plays in tackle. Even near the end of the year, him and Cisco were on play restrictions, which I think hurt the defense a lot too. And then Trey Herndon missed the game, but then that injury actually helped us because it allowed Antonio Johnson to get on the field, for Gregory Jr. to get on the field, and they were showing out better than Herndon was. If we keep Rashad Jenkins this year, I don't think, or this upcoming season, I do not believe that Trey Herndon will be back. I think we'll put Antonio Johnson in the slot because he outplayed him. He got more he was getting tackles like both of them were. He got more turnovers than Herndon. He got as much or maybe more. I have to double check on that. But then Rashad Jenkins, who was the starter all year, and Johnson, his whole thing was turnovers, just like Cisco was. So that was great to see for both of them. So I feel like that's probably going to be our starting safety unit next year. But we'll see how that goes. But it was just a bunch of guys were going down, and then they were key figures. We didn't have the backups to handle it. Adam Gostis is okay. I like him as depth piece, but as a starter, you can have him play starter minutes. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan. Like I touched on, Foley Fatukasi was dinged up all year. Which, I mean, that usually happens throughout the National Football League near the end of the year. Everybody's hurt, so it's up to them to step up and show what they got, show that this is Duval, or it's been too long for Saxonville, so I feel like we need a new name, but the defense has to earn that. I also feel like we need a better motivational guy on our defense. I feel like going up, it's Roy Robinson Harris by default, but I also don't feel like Roy Robinson Harrison is, for lack of a better word, good enough to lead everybody. We need not just from a playmaking perspective, but we need someone like a Bobby Wags or Fred Warner or Shaquille Griffin, or not Shaquille Griffin, Shaquille Leonard during their prime, when they were the best guy on the defense and they were the motivational and the leader of the team. Foley took it a little bit, but still Foley wasn't good enough. Foye Aluakon, I feel like would be probably arguably the guy who should do it, but I don't feel like he is as vocal to do some of it. There's a few stuff he'll do, like he lines up the defense, everything, so that would be a good position for him, but I don't think like he's local for it. Rashad Jenkins does it for the secondary, but again, he's not really an elite enough guy for it. If we're going to do who I feel like it should be Cisco or Tyson Campbell, but again, I feel like they're not as much raw guys, but I feel like that's what we need. We need somebody like that. Even if he's not elite still, someone who was enough elite that he's respected throughout the league. Like if we bring back Calais Campbell, which would be a perfect little thing for him. Bring the mayor back. He can help Walker a little bit, which, I mean, Walker's at the point now he needs to show. I mean, he's showing up. He's 10 sacks is nothing to sneeze at. But a lot of that's because Josh Allen was dominating on the other side. Not all. I'm not going to take it all from him because there was some plays that he was just getting past the line and then getting sacks before Josh Allen could get there, or even when Josh Allen was having an off game, especially near the end of the season. But again, I feel like we need to bring in like somebody who could, like a vocal leader again, especially with this Josh Allen situation, which does not look like it's going to be good. I feel like it could end up fine, but as of right now, the rumors are coming out that Josh Allen's shocked when Trent Baalke said, yeah, he'll be a Jaguar, even though they have yet to talk. That should have been done day after the season. If we wait till after the season, the day after the season, that deal should have been done. So that's going to play a role. Josh Allen has it some, so maybe he'll step up and be that guy. But And also, well, another reason why I said Calais, because Calais Campbell played with Ryan Jensen in Atlanta last year, so he knows the defense. He can help people with that. And if it's end the season, Mayor Saxonville, I feel like it's a good ending for everybody. Now, do I think Trent Baalke will do it? No. I personally feel like we should have let Trent go, but that's not going to happen because we all know Mr. Khan is a little bit too patient with some things. Some guys who should have been gone or should have been dealt with before it was too late. But I don't know. This is probably going to be the last year unless we like do something crazy. I also think like you're going to have to fire Baalke next year if this doesn't work next year, which means Doug Pearson might be fired, and then it's a whole reset, and that's something none of us want. But that's probably what's going to take for Baalke to be gone. There's been some reports coming out that he's not even looking at the D-line as a priority. Right now, his priority is offensive tackle, receiver, and corner, which means we're neglecting the trenches again. I hope it's just a smoke and mirror show because we need D-line, interior D lineman and interior O lineman, and hopefully that fixes itself, but we'll see how it goes. But again, especially with our depth, hopefully he improves the depth so that way the injuries, when they happen again, we don't run into it again. Then lastly, the last issue I felt like affected our defense was bad substitutions. What I mean by this is, and this goes from everybody top down. This is not just one person who's at fault for this. We should have got Chase Young or Danielle Hunter or anybody, but and then we could have put that on third down. You could have Walker inside, you'd have Josh Allen on one side, and then whoever, Chase Young, Danielle Hunter, who end up fourth in the league in sacks, I think. Which Josh Allen was tied for second. So just imagine you have that guy come from one end, you have Walker, you have Allen. It would have been a great D-line, but of course we didn't. So that led to the substitutions being bad. So what I mean by this is on big third downs, there. So again, like I said, everyone gets a place in this blame, but again, Walker or Mike Caldwell probably got the biggest chunk, but again, he didn't have the guys to do what he wanted to do. He's taking Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker off the field and putting Chase Allen and Smoot. I know we all like Devon Smoot, but he was not back with that Achilles, which again, it was a big injury. So I'm not really mad at him for not being a 5'6" sack guy. I think he had 1.5. So he could have been better. But again, with the coming back from that big injury, I follow it. It makes sense. Chase Allen, we know what K'Von Chase Allen is. He needs to not play. Yeah, he had a career high in sacks too this year. No. That was the biggest. He needs to not play. We should have put Yasir Abdullah, who was playing decent in those 4 or 5 games before when Smootty was out, before he was in the game, or before he was healthy enough to play. And he didn't get sacks, but he was getting the pressures, hurries, way more than Chase Allen was. So we should have rotated a little bit. I know apparently the coaches have loved Chase Allen on special teams. Fine, keep him on special teams. Don't let him on the defense because he provided no pass rush. So everybody was just their quarterbacks just were patting the ball all back there because no one on that D-line was going to get there. We didn't have anybody else on the D-line who could get there consistently. So if the edges were bad, it wasn't good enough. And then there were way too many plays. Again, this goes on probably Caldwell and Baalke because of the defense. Mike Caldwell wanted to run. He didn't have the players to do it. But instead of adjusting, he didn't do it. When both Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen were in coverage, that needs to never happen. If you want to trick them, have one of them in coverage, but the other one needs to be pass rushing. Josh Allen's he can, but he's not like an elite coverage linebacker that can do all this other stuff. No. So that hurt him. Walker's not that guy either. So it led to either a 3-man rush, which is terrible, or blitzing on linebackers, and then quarterbacks are just throwing it where the linebackers should have been because they weren't getting there enough time. I didn't mind the corner blitzes we did, because those kind of got covered by whoever was at safety, but the linebacker blitzes we did up the middle, and then they couldn't get there. Right behind him every play. So that hurt us, but the biggest thing was the substitutions. Those guys, some of them need to not play. I mean, we were rotating through corners a lot. I feel like there was some stubbornness there about who should. Oh, we like this guy, so he's going to get some playing time, even though he's not the best option for playing time. But I feel like those were the biggest things that affected our defense this year. That near the end of the year, we'd start to crumble. And that was like if I had to make the biggest culprit, I would probably have to go with the missed tackles, just because everyone was which of course ties into the D line and all that. All of them kind of tying together, but my biggest was the missed tackles. I think that really set us back. And then teams started figuring it out, and then quick game all the way down the field. But hopefully during the offseason, we clear at least some of these issues up, and then we can move on, and then hopefully get our division back, which is going to be harder next year. Last year was our year with everyone, with all like Burrow going down, Rodgers going down, the Chiefs' offense getting to Super Bowl, but the offense wasn't as good as it was, and we gave that up. So we're going to have to earn it this year, but hopefully we can. But so there's another episode of Duval Against y'all. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow me on X at blind_side_73. I'll see y'all next time. Hopefully, probably going to touch on what I think our offseason, what we should do. So I'll go into that. Who should get signed first? Josh Allen, Ridley, who we should go get, who we should cut. I'll go into all that next time. So keep on looking for that. And just remember, it's always Duval